I'm going to be demonstrating Avenza Maps on an iPad. I'd like to note that Avenza Maps can also be downloaded on Android devices and PCs. There are some differences between the platforms, but for the most part, all the program is very similar across all devices. So to start Avenza Maps, I'm going to press on the Avenza icon. Unless you've been working on the program already and have a map open, normally the first screen that you're going to see is going to be the map screen. On the map screen here, I'm just going to go across some of the icons here. You're going to see a silhouette of a person, plus an edit on the top. That's going to be for your account, which is going to show your previously downloaded or purchased maps, basically that are held in the cloud. You're going to have the plus sign, which is going to be for importing maps, either from the map store or from, say, a QR code or by email. This could be done at Basecamp or any other means. And then the edit tab is going to be for organizing your maps you have. You're going to be able to put them in individual folders, create folders, or you can also delete your maps from here. If you delete maps you've purchased, you're not completely deleting them because they will be on your account and you can reload them at another time. Across the bottom of the screen, you're going to see where it says Maps, Layers, Store, Settings. Basically, we're on Maps. Layers is just different layers of maps. We'll talk about layers a little bit later on. Store is going to be where you can purchase maps. There are free maps, all kinds of maps you can purchase. You can see in my area, the maps are indicated by the little pins on this map, and it shows my location. So there's lots of different maps in the area here. Not all are topo maps. You have to take a look at them. Some are free, some are 99 cents. Not too bad. You can see here. But really, for the most part, we could be getting topo maps off of here. USGS, you can actually get them for free. And if we're going to download them, obviously we're going to download them normally from Basecamp, so that would be free as well. As long as you have a subscription, which we'll talk about later. So that's the store. And then settings. Settings is where you're going to change your settings for the program. GPS settings, map view. Really not much to do here. So we're going to go back to maps. One thing about the maps here, as you see on the list, you can see a little picture of the map on the left side. And then next to that, it's going to have a name of the map. Importantly, well, not so important, but nice to know, if you look just below the name, you're going to see a mileage and an arrow. And what that does is that indicates whether or not your location is actually on that map and the direction you are from it. So you can see some of these, like Monterey, I'm 23 miles to the southeast. So take it as it is. But if you look at it here, the second one down, San Jose, page 43, we are on that map. So we're going to use that one for this demonstration. So we'll click on that. It's going to open up that map. And first, we'll go over the icons a little bit, or basically we'll work from the top down. So if you see on the top, there's going to be a left arrow. Obviously, that takes you back to the previous page. In the middle of the top, it's going to show our map page, our map name. On the right side, you're going to see the magnifying glass. That's going to allow you to search for things on that map. And then you have the information. Information is it's interesting, or it's helpful. One thing I really like to note, though, the most important thing is the publish date. About halfway down in the details, you'll see published there, and you'll see that this map was published on 2015. So obviously, if you're purchasing maps, really if you're just purchasing map, be cognizant of when that map was purchased. Obviously, we don't want to get something that was purchased in 1950, because obviously between now and then things have changed quite a bit. So we want to make sure we have something current, especially in high growth areas. There's going to be a lot of expansion and stuff like that. So try to make sure it's current. So on the map itself, you're going to see first and foremost, there's a blue dot in the middle. I'll put the crosshairs on it right there. And what that is that is my current location on the map. That's where I am at. Additionally, you can see I'm moving the map around. I'm just swiping the map back and forth. I can use 2 fingers at a time to shrink it, to expand it, and I can also turn the map around. If I do turn the map's normally oriented north, and if you look in the top right corner, you'll see a little compass up there. So when it's not facing north, that compass comes up. And so if I want to reorient it back north, I can go ahead, press that, and it'll pop me back to north. Okay, like I said, you have my location right there as the blue dot. And also there is a crosshair, which you can see as I move the map around here. I'll move it to this white side here, and you can see it pretty clearly. That's a crosshair, and that is going to be my current location, which is also indicated by the latitude and longitude at the bottom of the screen. As I move that around, those values change. So at the bottom of the screen, there's going to be 4 icons. First on the left is going to be the location arrow. If you tap the arrow once, it's going to bounce to my current location to the center of the map. So what that means, if I'm looking around the map and now I want to get back to where I'm at, I can press that button or the location arrow, and it'll center myself on the map, my location. Now if I tap that a second time, what it's going to do is it's going to put a little arrow on the top of that. And then what it's doing is it's going to orient myself and the map into the direction of travel. It just happens that I am facing north pretty much right now, but you'll see as I move my map around, there we go. As I move my iPad, it's going to change the direction of that arrow and the map, because it's changing its direction in accordance to where I am facing. In addition to that, if you look at the top of the map, you'll see that it has a heading. So that arrow is also telling what direction we are heading. So if I want to travel this direction, if I start walking, the map will move, or my dot will move on the map, and it shows that I'm heading, or I have a heading of 232 degrees. So that is pretty helpful. And then if we are moving around, you also see that up in the top right, there is the compass up there, which the compass will remain or show the north orientation to the map where we're at. So that's if you press the location arrow twice. If you press it a third time, it's going to put the crosshairs on there. And it's important to note that if you want to drop a pin, which we'll talk about next, basically, if you want to drop a pin on your location, you need to have that crosshairs on you so you can actually get your exact location. The pins will always get dropped on the crosshairs, but if you want it on your exact location, you need to press that location arrow 3 times, and it'll lock it in on yourself. And then if you press it one more time, it'll take it off, and you're just back to normal use. So next, that is the location arrow. Next is going to be the pin tool. The pin tool allows you to drop a pin at your location or a place of interest located under the crosshairs after or as the map is moved. And like we said, it's important if you want to drop the pin on your location, you can always move the crosshairs close to your location, and you can zoom in and get it real close. But if you want to get it exactly where you are, you're going to press that thing, your location arrow 3 times, and it'll drop it right on yourself. So when we want to drop a pin, if we drop it on ourselves, or if we want to find a location, say here's a school right here. We want to drop a pin on the school. So we're going to put our crosshairs in the middle of the school, and we'll press the pin icon. Okay, so once we press the pin icon, it's now going to come up with the opportunity to edit that information. So what I'll do here is we're going to click on title or press on title. Let's get rid of that place mark, and we're going to call that school. Actually, that's Alta Vista School. So Alta Vista School. Okay. So we're going to name that Alta Vista School. You have your symbol is next. So you can click on the symbol. If I want to change the symbol, I can. I can change color. We have all these little fancy icons down here. You can actually get the ICS icons for the Avenza program here, but unfortunately that is tied to the Pro version or Pro subscription to it, which is actually rather expensive. It's about $100 a year, so not exactly necessary. And then if you want, you can actually add photos to your pin as well. And then one way you can do that, you press the plus button, is you can actually, if you're at that location, you can go ahead and use your camera directly, in which my camera is actually facing the table. So I could actually take a place mark photo of that right now, or I could go ahead and just add one from my photo library if I would wish, but I don't. But those are the options. And then the rest of the stuff we're not going to mess with, just our description. You can go to description. Under your description, you might want to put something such as if you're on a fire scene, you might want to say hazards or safety issues, or maybe basically just pertinent information. You can always enter that right there as well. So that would be on your place mark. If you decide you didn't want to do it, you can press cancel, and that would just wipe everything clean. Or we can press submit, which I'll do right now. And that drops a place mark on that school. So we can do one more. Let's zoom out a little bit. And let's come over to this lake right here, this reservoir. And we're going to zoom in there, and that's a dam. So let's go ahead and put a pin right there. So once again, we'll pin. We're going to call that a dam. And we'll just use the red pin, or in fact, why don't we use a blue pin? So we'll use a blue pin for that. And there's no photos, so we'll just submit that. And now we have a blue pin for the dam. So that is placing pins. All right, the next one we're going to come across, let's go ahead and just bring this back to us right here. I just centered it on us. You're going to see our location down the bottom middle of the screen. Now that location right now is in latitude, longitude, but if you press on that, it'll bring up a whole bunch of different options. You can do just degree minutes. You can do minutes, decimal degrees, or I'm sorry, degrees, decimal minutes, or all kinds of options up to and including the U.S. national grid, which is at the bottom of the map. Now, one thing to mention that according to CAL FIRE, that when you're speaking with aerial resources or anything like that, they require, at least now until we change to the U.S. national grid, is they want you to speak in degree decibel minutes, which is actually what I have on here right now. Let's see, degree decibel minutes, and that would be the one that's selected. All right, so we have that. Over to the bottom right of the screen, you can just see a pin with 3 lines. This is where map features such as pins, measurements, and GPS tracks are stored. We'll go into that. You can see there's a couple different layers. I have a layer that I downloaded onto here from a hike I did in the nearby, or a few days ago in a nearby area that I did a GPS track and some photos I'm going to demonstrate here in a moment. And then you can also see there's a second layer of just the 2 pins that we just made. So actually, if I click on or press on that layer, you'll see that the 2 different layers we have. Or 2 different pins. Pins for Alta Vista School and the dam. as well as if I go back, you can see the other one I did similar, but those actually have photos tied into them. So I have a pin, like a hilltop pin here. If I click on that, it'll show a picture of the hilltop view. So that is, let's go back, center ourselves again. That is going to be basically the layers that are available on the map features at this time until we add more. One thing to note, when you're on this this page, we might call it with the pin, the 3 lines, you have the opportunity to upload and download information as well. So just like what you see right here, let me go back. So I had that top layer there. I said I downloaded that. I downloaded that from another map page or another time onto here. We also have the ability to upload. And so what that means is we can go out, say you're on a strike team and the GIS or planning or whoever, they want to have information, or maybe you're a FOBS and they want you to go out and walk a dozer line or walk a fire perimeter. Well, you can go ahead and get all these layers here, and then what you would do is you'd take these layers and then you'd upload them, which is the box with the up arrow on the bottom right. And then you can go ahead and export these as an email. So what you might want to do is you might want to say, we can rename it, file name. We're going to say this is the lake incident. And I might want to say, put my name in there, or put your name as the person taking the information. So we'll just say Joe Smith. Okay, we're going to go down to send to. You could have options, send to Dropbox, iTunes, AirDrop, but usually you want to send it by email. You want to send it on a KML format. Sometimes they use GPX, but basically the 2 main ones are KML, GPX. I would keep it on KML. And then you can see down here, it says features. There's 7 features on this right now. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to press export. And then it's going to go to your device page. And then we want to mail it. And we would send it just like, press mail. And then we would send it just like any other email to the planning unit, which oftentimes you will get that their email address or through a briefing, or sometimes it might even be on the incident plan. So that is sending, let's delete this, sending information from Avenza to different people or planning. And then in the bottom right corner of the screen, you're going to have the last tool, which is a little wrench. And that's kind of your tools area. And you can see here, Avenza has several tools to interact with the map. These are draw and measure, record GPS tracks, find by coordinates, open view in Google Maps, and plot photos. So let's start with draw and measure. So draw and measure is a nice feature. So draw and measure allows us to measure length, but it also allows us to measure area. So how we do that is, first of all, the place we want to measure. Let's say you can see right above me here on the map, there's a cemetery. So let's say I want to draw or figure out the length of that. What it wants me to do is I'm going to tap on the screen to start or create a starting point. I'm going to tap. And you can see the top of the screen change to by distance. And in this case, it's on miles. And now I'm going to drag the screen or move the screen across. And you can see that it's creating a line right there. You can see that line. So I'm going to make that line to the edge of the cemetery. And it's going to tell you that I'm 0.28 miles. Now I can change that. up on the right side of that box, you see these 3 lines. And inside there, I could change the color of the line thickness, but line units. So in line units, I'm going to go ahead and change that to feet right now. And I'll close that, and you can see that we have 1,400 feet is the length of that cemetery. Now, in addition to this, and before I go farther, I mean, look at the bottom of the screen here. You can see there's 5 different icons in the bottom of the screen. There's an X at the bottom of the screen. Is basically that's cancel. If I press that, we're just going to go back to the map. It's going to cancel all this stuff. Yeah, there's going to be a crosshair with a dot. If I press that, that's going to center the crosshair on my location. There's that left curved arrow. What that does is that's kind of like the undo symbol. So let's say I didn't want to have a starting point where I started, or if I do something wrong, say, oh, I'm going to make it this long. Shoot, I didn't want to do that. So we're going to press the left arrow, and it's going to bring us back to the beginning. Okay? So we're starting from the beginning. So let's bring this across again. And then I'm going to continue around. I'm going to press the mouse or press the screen again, click it, and then come around. I'm going to make a box. Okay, so now that I've done a few lines on here, you can see now that I have this triangle or angle thing at the bottom that's lit up. And what happens now, if I press that, it's going to highlight that area there. And oh, what's going on here? It should have actually, there we go. It highlighted the area, and now what it's done is it's measured that area for me. So it says it's 29 acres, and the perimeter is 4,700 feet. So now let's say we're right here. We just had a vegetation fire in the cemetery. It burnt up that area. We just hiked around the perimeter of it, or we drove around in a patrol or type 3. And this was the burn, and so we burned 29 acres. So there's a use for this acreage tool. So now I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go ahead to the bottom right of the screen. You see a check mark. And what that's going to do is that's going to create an item for this. So if I click on here now, you're going to see Area 1. And that Area 1 says 29 acres and has a perimeter side. In addition to measuring out an area like that, you also have the option, let me go back to Tools and Draw and Measure. And I'm going to click in here, and you have the option down here in the bottom right, next to the, just left of the check mark, is the circle tool. So you can click on the circle, and then now when you drag your map, it's going to create a circle, obviously. So I'm going to put that circle there, press the check mark, and now I have a circle area that's 24 acres with the, has the perimeter size on it. So there's 2 different methods of figuring out an area there. So you can do it with the circle, or you can outline it manually to figure out what your area is. And you can use this, like I said, for figuring out burn areas. You figure out a safety zone, anything you want, any reason you need to figure out area or something like that, you can do that. And back to the safety zones too. Safety zones aren't exactly it's acreage. It's dimensions. So, like I said a while back, if we draw and measure, we could just do simple dimensions too. So you can see, like I said, this was across this way was going to be 1,400 feet, or we can save that. Let's save it. So draw and measure. I'm going to click on that, pull it across. So that one's 1,400 feet. I'll press the check, and then this way. Start it there, draw and measure. Once again, and tap it, and then drag it up. And then this direction, it is 822 feet. Check. So now I can put lines on there, line 1, line 2. So you know how big they are. It's useful. Okay, back to our tools here. Next is going to be record GPS tracks. Now, record GPS tracks is really helpful. Like I said, it's basically, it's going to use the GPS unit inside your phone or iPad or device, and it's going to drop what we call breadcrumbs basically on the map. It's going to leave a line on the map of either a hike or a drive, or maybe even using the dozer. It's going to show you your route of travel on the map. So after I press that, you can see in the bottom of the map, it's kind of shaded, but on the left side it says start, and the right side it says cancel. So it's going to start at where my location is, where I am. If I press start, when I start walking now, it's going to leave a track. And I'll press stop, and then it'll save it. And there's settings for this, but basically what it does is it drops a point every few seconds. Either every few seconds or every a certain amount of distance traveled. So it's not taking up too much space on your memory. But if I go down here, you can see a few days ago I hiked a trail, and it started here, if you can see my crosshairs. And then I took this trail that went up around a hillside and then back down, so I did a loop. But if I click on it, you can see, here's my track. I'm going to click on information. And basically, I went 3.98 miles. The time was March 17th at 12:22 in the afternoon. So it has all the information there, and then of course you can name it however you want. And there's also information. You can show a graph, and the graph will show you your speed. It has your elevation. It has all kinds of information right here. So it's really quite helpful. And like I was saying, we definitely have uses for this in the wildland environment. It could be for fobs. It could be for checking a perimeter of a fire. It could be checking for dozer line, or it could be used for, like inside a dozer, if you're creating a dozer line, certainly planning or GIS would like to know exactly where that dozer line was, and this is going to track it for you. So that's a GPS track. And then one other thing they have here, it's helpful, is find by coordinates. So let me cancel this and go back. Let's center ourselves on our location. Done. So let me go back to us by pressing the arrow. And so let's say we're right here where we're at. And I could have, let's say our patrol is out, and the patrol is looking for access to an area in question, an area on fire, kind of like in the Altamont. And they're looking for a gate. So let's say they find something, and we're all spread out. They could message us, or they could do something, and they could say, this is where we're at. They can give us a coordinate. So I can do find by coordinates on here, and this is my coordinate right now. But let's say they tell us they are at, let's say 37 degrees, go back here, and 12.947 minutes north by, and we'll change this one, there we go, by 121 degrees, 59.107 west. Okay, so now I'll press the search button. They told me they're right there. Let's say they're at a gate that allows them access. So I'll press search, And lo and behold, they're at the gate, which is right in front of the track where I did the hike. So what I could do now is I'm going to say done, because they gave us that location. Now I'm going to drop a pin right there. And I'm going to say, I'm going to put that in the title that said that is, I don't know, let's say patrol at gate. Okay. Return. And we'll use a red pin and submit. So now I have a pin right here as the patrol at the gate. So now I could navigate. I can see all the streets right here, and I could move over to my location, and we can navigate ourselves to that location. So that is the find by coordinates. Now, another option we have, if we are on streets and we're trying to navigate to that specific location right there, we could also, or not only just navigating, but if we want to take a look at this area, because, we're on a topo map and it doesn't really show buildings or other features. Different maps show different features. So one of the options here is to also open the view in Google Maps. So when I press Google Maps, now all of a sudden we are in Google Maps here, and I could go ahead and navigate. I can go search, I can search the street I want to navigate to, and this will actually open up navigation to that particular street. So if I go back, oh great, my Avenza, there's a button up here in the top left corner that goes back to Avenza and is being covered up by my recording button right now. And I can't get back. Okay. Well, what I would do is I'd have to go to my pin that was down here, which I can't see right now because I can't get out of this. I got an idea. We'll do this. There. Okay. So we're back into Avenza here. If I drop down to this pin, where was my pin? There's my pin, patrol at the gate. So now if I zoom in on this, okay, and I look at these streets that you see right around that, now if I go to open in Google Maps, I can zoom in and these streets are right here. So that's Jones Road. So now technically what I could do is I can go in Google Map and I can say navigate from my location to Jones Road right here, or Jones Creek Trail entrance, and that would navigate me to that space. So that's how that works. Additionally, in the tools, we have plot photos, and well, we don't need to see my house photos. Let's go back to that. But you can take photos that you've taken and plot photos on the map here. You could do photos that you might have taken at specific times on here, and you can place them on the map. But what happens is if you go to a photo, and normally nowadays the photos are GPS-oriented photos, so it would drop that photo at the particular place that was taken on the map. And that is aside from doing the pins, which you can obviously add photos like we talked about earlier, either from your camera or just grabbing something from your photo library and putting it on the pin. So that is a quick overview of the operation of Avenza Maps. Like I said, we have our location arrow, we have pins, dropping pins. Whoops, I just dropped another one. We had the pin with the 3 lines on the right side, which has all our features on the maps that we've created. And then our tools. And one thing to show right now is, we've dropped a bunch of stuff on this map here. We've dropped some pins, we've made some some area calculations. We have the trails. And the one thing I didn't show actually was at these pin sites, pins that have photos or information to them. You could just go over to them and click on them. Just click on all these pins here, and what they'll do is you can open them up and they'll show you, pictures of the area and any information that you took. So same thing with, like I said, the trail. We have the trail here. It shows you how far it is. We have this pin right there. So it's really quite helpful. But if I do go back to the map features, you can see now on this layer button here, this is our current activity. Now we have all this stuff information that we've created on here, which could be helpful to some people. And